Okay, so welcome to the first meeting of the College Club. It's a small group. Thank you for coming, Mirai. So I just want to go over some important details concerning financial aid and how admissions works in the United States, so we can get started with our applications because, as you know, the US application process is quite different from Europe. So, okay, so just feel free to ask any questions and to stop me whenever, because this meeting is meant for you. One
Okay.
second, please. I can see someone writing to me. Okay. All right. So do you have any idea where you want to study, Mirai? Or you're just thinking, you don't know yet?
As in a specific university?
Yeah, like do you have a ideal, like a dream school that you're interested in?
Caltech, probably.
Nice. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about admissions rates in the United States. So I know you've probably looked at statistics and things like that, but I just wanted to let you know what's available online and how you can look at it when you're researching your own universities to apply to. So every year, universities get thousands of applications, including Caltech and other universities who get thousands and thousands of applications. So there's a total applicant pool. Then there's the number of admitted US students. As you can see, the number is getting smaller. And then there's the number of admitted international students, and then the number of admitted international students with aid. Of course, Caltech is a whole other category, but in general, this is the way things need to be looked at. If you're an American student who is full pay, you can pay for everything. It's different than trying to get into a university, usually as an international student who is high need. The criteria are similar, but it gets more and more competitive as you get to the bottom of the triangle here. And your goal as a student is to apply to places where you are, obviously a competitive applicant. And that can be Caltech, but it can also include other universities that you may not have thought of as well. So yes, the competition with applications gets narrower and narrower. Unfortunately, this is the situation. And I'm not just saying this to discourage you, because every year we have students who get in with amazing financial aid packages, but that is the reality of it. And it's important to have a good list of diverse universities, not only the very, very competitive ones, but a list of other universities that may be more affordable or maybe less competitive in terms of admissions, or to have a B plan with other countries, just in case things don't work out your way. But as I said, they could possibly work your way. So what do admissions officers want? Okay, so usually when you're applying to European universities, there are basic academic requirements, minimum requirements you have to meet. And if you meet them, in many cases, the door is wide open to you, and that's all that they're looking for. But for the United States, the admissions process is holistic. So they're looking at not only your academic preparedness, but they're also looking at everything else. They're looking at you as an individual and the other things that you're doing. So when we're talking about being academically prepared, like having good grades, that is a given. That is something that every applicant that's going to apply will most probably have. But it's the other things that they're looking for in terms of financial aid and scholarships and getting into the most competitive programs. And some of those things are listed here. They're looking for the students who are making a difference within their community. They're looking for students who are involved, not just studying in their rooms. They're doing other things outside. They're involved in their communities. They're passionate either about what they're going to study. For example, if you're interested in Caltech, then they're going to look for a passion in the sciences. What exactly would you like to study? Do you know?
Chemistry.
Chemistry, okay. So they're going to look for some kind of passion in the sciences as well.
Mhm.
They're looking for unique students who are, individuals. They have individual, interests different from others, something to kind of make them stand out. And they're looking for leaders, people who are generally making a difference or that are involved are usually leaders in their community as well. They're looking for the future, I don't know, Nobel Prize winners, the ones with that potential, the ones who are going to maybe lead various organizations, companies, or countries in the future. So they're looking for those kinds of students who might have some leadership skills as well. And of course, they're looking for a good fit. So, every university has a different idea of what kind of student would do well in their campuses or thrive. And that is the kind of student that they're trying to get. That's why the US application itself has many different sections. There's a section for activities and all kinds of things, because they're trying to understand whether you are a good fit and you're doing all of these things outside of the school and that you're academically prepared. So it's a lot more detailed than other, European applications. Some European universities have like a very short application. You just enter your grades and that's it. But for the US, it will take time with essays and things like that. And we'll look at that later on. So having good grades is a given. There will be thousands of other students that have good grades. It's also the other things that might make a difference for you. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, all right. So researching universities, I think a lot of the time students look at things one-sided. So they're looking for the university that is perfect for them. I want to go to this university. I want to be in a big city and that kind of thing. But it's actually a two-way street. Just like you are assessing or evaluating universities, they're also evaluating you. They're trying to see if you are what they're looking for as well. So the good fit factor, basically. And when both sides match, so what you're looking for and your ideal or your perfect kind of university it matches up with you being the kind of person that they're looking for, that's when everything, happens, admissions, financial aid, and so forth. So the reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes students forget to do research, to look at universities, because, looking at some random list is not enough. You have to really look at the university to get an idea of the program that they're offering. Chemistry is not going to be the same everywhere. One university may have more opportunities to do research, or another university will have better facilities in terms of laboratories. So every student has to really spend time researching universities, because once you find those, wow, this university is great, once you find those universities that you love, then the chances are that they will also love you back, because you're the kind of student that they're looking for. You've done your research. So take some time to research universities. What are some things you need to look at? Obviously, there are the technical details. So first of all, it has to be accredited. It has to be an approved university. In the United States, there's no Ministry of Education. There's no such thing. So instead of, in Cyprus, there's a Ministry of Education that approves universities. But in the US, there are different organizations that approve universities. In every region of the United States, there are different regional bodies, or for some professions that are, that are specifically related to professions that have to do with safety and things like that, like engineering, architecture, those kinds of things. They also have accrediting bodies that you need to look at. For chemistry, the only thing that's going to be, the only type of accreditation that you need to look at is the regional one, because chemistry is not a profession, so you don't need to look at professional accreditation. Do you think you're going to do chemistry, or is chemical engineering an option?
Just chemistry.
Okay, so chemistry, okay, so you will look at to see that the whole university is accredited, and that's enough. You have to make sure that the university has your major, so chemistry, that you're looking at their minimum requirements and also selectivity. You're also going to look at the right fit factors. So are you the kind of student that they're looking for? And also you have to look at the financial details. Can you afford the university? If you cannot afford the university, do they have financial assistance that is going to be enough to get you there? So let's look at how we can look at these things or research these things. So accreditation, for example, two types of accreditation: regional accreditation, which researches the whole university, and professional accreditation, which looks at particular departments. So let's look at this. So there are different regional accrediting bodies for each region of the United States. As you can see, the first one is for Western universities. This one is for Northwest. Here, the Northwest region, the New England region, the Southern region, or whatever. We don't have to look to see whether Caltech is accredited or not. We all know that it's accredited. But sometimes you may come across a university that has this huge scholarship, but you've never heard of it. So you have to come back to these sites and make sure that, you know, yes, it is an accredited or approved university within the United States. Then, going back to the PowerPoint, then there's professional accreditation, which will not concern you, but it will concern someone who wants to study one of these fields here: dentistry, engineering, counseling, dance, chiropractic, genetic counseling, law, all of these. Not chemistry, but these subjects are specific to particular professions. And these professions have their own accrediting body because they have standards that must be met. So if you want to do something like engineering, you have to make sure that the university as a whole is accredited, but you also have to look to, and you have to check ABET, which is the accrediting body for engineering programs. And you have to make sure that your chemical engineering program is also accredited by ABET. For example, if you want to do chemical engineering, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, or whatever. Or if you want to do something like architecture, you would also make sure that the NAAB has accredited that university's architecture program as well. Did you have a question?
No.
No. Okay, I thought I heard you. Okay, so for you, regional accreditation will matter only, not the professional side.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to use just one website, I will give these to you later on. If you click here and you type in the university that you're looking at, California Institute of Technology. There you go. We know that it's accredited by the Western Association, obviously. And then they don't have any specialized accrediting. Even though they offer all kinds of engineerings or whatever, they don't deal with this. They're like, we're too good, we're Caltech, so we don't need to do this. But for other universities, you might find that they have professional or programmatic accreditation as well. So this is a way to research universities that maybe you haven't heard of. For example, are there any other universities you might have in mind?
Mainly the known ones like MIT, Stanford.
Okay, let's look at Stanford. Accreditation is actually a voluntary process in the United States. It's not a requirement. So like the really high levels universities, sometimes even though they have engineering, they might not go through the engineering accreditation process because, well, everyone knows that Stanford, for example, is amazing. You don't have to worry about it. So they have regional accreditation, which is also called institutional accreditation. They do have professional accreditation in these programs here. Okay. But if you can get into any of one of their programs, you know that it's all right. You don't have to worry about accreditation so much. It's top university in the world. Okay, so accreditation, you have to make sure that it's an approved university. For the schools that you're talking about, Mirai, no problem. They will be accredited. Then looking at selectivity. Now, for every university, you will find admission statistics available online, either through their website or through another website that I'll show towards the end of the presentation. So MIT, early action, I think we talked about that, early deadlines, right? Do you know about early deadlines?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So if you apply early action, these are some statistics off of their website. In early action, so by the November deadline, about 12,000 students applied to MIT. Only 685 students out of 12,000 were accepted in the early round. About 8,000 students were deferred to regular action. So what that means is a lot of students who apply early, if the university is not sure whether to reject them or accept them, they just shift them or defer them to the regular deadline, which is later, and they assess them with everybody else. So about 8,000 of those students were deferred to regular action, and only 146 of those students were accepted in the end. MIT regular action applicants, about 15,000, together with deferred students, 23,000, and out of them, 574 were offered a place, and 619 out of the wait list. So would you, in your own opinion, would you say that MIT is a competitive, a highly selective, or a not so selective university?
Highly selective.
Yes, sorry, yes. Obviously, it says here that 5% roughly were accepted. However, don't forget the initial triangle that I showed you. The 5% that they state here includes all students, okay? Both American and international. And in many cases, there are more spots for American students than there are for international. So while it says 5% here for the admissions rate for MIT, in reality, for international students, that is much lower, okay? So we need to keep this in mind when we're looking at websites and when we're choosing schools to apply to. They also give information about SAT results to get, so you get an idea of where your score stands. Have you taken the SAT, Mirai?
No, I haven't. I'm preparing for it.
In August? You're going to take it in August?
In October.
Okay. So when you take it in October, then you might have the opportunity to do it in November as well if you're applying early. And it depends on the university. If you're applying early in November, many universities will accept a November result as well, but not December, if you want to be considered for early deadlines. Okay, something to keep in mind. Can you get ready by August, by the end of August, or to just give it a try or not?
I'm not sure really, because the English part is very different from our curriculum.
Yeah. Okay. Just keep it in mind. There's August, October, November, and then later on, there's a few others as well. Okay. But on every university website, they also give you an idea of what kinds of SAT scores were accepted as well. But remember, the SAT is only one very small part of the admissions process. There's a lot more that they considered, as I mentioned. Passionate, unique, leaders, making a difference, all of those things come into play as well for highly selective universities. Okay, let's skip this. Okay, now moving on to the fit part of it. So fit is actually a very important part. You know, like I said, just like you're evaluating the kinds of universities you want to go to. Universities are also evaluating students to see whether they're going to they're going to thrive there. I mean, I think it's not a matter of choosing necessarily the best. They're choosing the students who are the best fit for their program. So if a school is highly selective, very challenging, really rigorous, difficult, then they're looking for the students who can manage that. Every university will want to take or accept students who they feel are going to do a good job there. They're going to be happy. Nobody wants to take a student who they think is not going to be happy at their institution or is not going to do well. So that's what fit is really about. They not only in lessons, but in life in general there. So one example for fit is, Kenyon College. Have you heard of this college?
I think I did.
Okay, so this is a small, very small liberal arts college in a very small town in Ohio. Every university will explain who they are, what they're about, but here I just wanted to give you an example of Kenyon, where they say, we set high academic standards and look for talented students who love learning. Small classes, dedicated teachers, and friendly give and takes at the tone. Kenyon welcomes curiosity, creativity, intellectual ambition, and an openness to new ideas. We see learning as a challenging, et cetera, et cetera. So they specifically say curiosity, creativity, intellectual ambition. So these are the things that they're looking for in a student. So when you are writing about your activities, some of those activities should show these kinds of characteristics. Curiosity, like, for example, you wanted to learn more about chemistry, so you took a higher level course, or even though it wasn't required, you got involved in some kind of high level research at a university here, or, something else to show that you are a curious student. Also, so that they're going to look at your activities to see that you show these kinds of traits. Also, if you write in your personal statement that you're looking forward to going to like this huge university where there are tons of facilities and whatever, that's also going to show that you're not a good fit for this very, very small university, which is very generous with financial aid, by the way. Because they're going to look at your essay and they're going to say, wow, this student wants to go to a big school, obviously, where there's, huge laboratories, but our school is, very small and it's in a small place. So that is another example of how fit plays a part. Okay. So that's why, again, it's very important for you to look at individual universities, not just by a ranking list, but to see what they offer, what kind of university they are, what kind of environment they provide, the types of students that have gone, what they're looking for students. Because when those things match, when you match with what they're looking for, then chances are it's going to end up positive. Here's another example, Babson. They only received 6,000 applications, whereas MIT received thousands more, as you can see. They also write about, what they're looking for here. The academic environment at Babson is a rigorous one, and we look for students who have best prepared themselves for success at the college level. So instead of doing 2 A levels, like the rest of your friends in your school, if you're doing 3, or instead of doing 4, you're doing 5, these are the kinds of things that will show, wow, I'm used to a rigorous environment, and I'm very prepared for success at college level because I'm doing it anyway with your extra A levels. But if you don't have that, you still have your A levels, which shows that you're academically prepared. How many A levels are you doing?
3.
3, perfect. And it says, additionally down here, we highly recommend pursuing mathematics, et cetera, et cetera. So every university will give you kinds of tips for you to see what kind of student and what kind of preparedness they're looking for, or preparation. These are some websites that are really good in terms of getting an understanding of selectivity and things like that. But I like this College Navigator. And again, I'll send you the information. This is, it looks very outdated, but it has a lot of information here. So you want to look at California Institute of Technology. Let's look at this. Yeah, when you type it in, there's Caltech here. It gives you all kinds of information, admissions related information, but here you can look at admissions to look at statistics. Here, undergraduates for fall 2023. Wait, California Institute of Technology, 65%, admitted. Sorry, I saw 65 here. And I was like, what, they accept 65%? That must be wrong. I wish it was correct, Mirai. Sorry to get you all excited, but yes, percent admitted, 3%, 4% female. So you already have an advantage by being a female. And of those people accepted, about 65% enrolled, which is interesting. That means that people who get accepted into Caltech, they apply other places as well. And so they don't necessarily choose Caltech. But anyway, so this website has a lot of good information. It has other things that you can look at, but it's like a strategy thing. So it's very important. I know, I mean, this takes time, and I will help you when it comes to, finalizing your list of universities to apply to. I'll definitely help you, and we'll go through it together. But these are kinds of things that you can do now, since you're free, you're in the summer. You don't necessarily have to, you have time. So have a look at these kinds of things as well. And I'll send you these links as well. But let's move on to more important things, financial assistance. How much does it cost? The reality is that, the total cost of a US education with everything included, because, in Europe, when you're looking at European costs, they tell you like, oh, it's 1,000 euros in Belgium for tuition. It's 2,000 in the Netherlands for tuition. They don't include living expenses. But in the US, when you're looking at costs, it always includes living expenses, because when you apply for a visa, you actually have to show that you have the entire amount. It's not like when in Europe, because you have the EU passport, you don't necessarily have to think about living expenses. But in the United States, because you'll have to apply for a visa, you have to look at total cost, and you have to make sure, okay, is this affordable? If it's not affordable, you have to make sure that the scholarship or financial aid that they offer is enough to get you there. Now, for a school like Caltech, finances is not going to be an issue, because they are generally need blind. Oops, sorry. So there are some universities who don't necessarily look at your finances when they're evaluating a student. So, and they're called need blind students. So they don't factor in whether you're poor or you can pay anything or whatever. And if they like you, they'll take you, they'll accept you, and they'll give you whatever you need in terms of finances. Caltech, I'm not sure whether they're need blind. I have to look at it. Generally, these universities like the Caltechs, the Yales, the whatever, they're generally need blind, which means that if you get in, then they're not if they're not looking at your finances. Let me actually look now that I'm just a minute. I'm going to look on my phone to see whether Caltech is need blind or not. But a university like Harvard or Yale will be, and there are very few universities like that. The reality in the US is that most universities are need aware for international students. So they will look at your finances when they're assessing you for admissions as well. 1 second, Mirai. Caltech is need aware for international applicants. Okay. So that means when they're looking at your application, they're also going to look at your financial documents, and that's going to play a part in it as well. However, that doesn't mean that they're not going to take you. They may still love you, and they are very, very generous with financial aid as well. So
I have a question.
Yes.
I know that they also have something like a parent contribution kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yes.
Is it beneficial to put a high amount on that
You have to be
for admission?
truthful. You
Mhm.
have to be truthful in all of your financial documents, and that's a great question, because whatever is written there is most probably what you're going to end up paying if you get
Mhm.
it. Nobody will give you more money than you need. Now, if you put in a high number, if you put in a high number, that might help you, but it's, first of all, it's not going to guarantee that you're going to get in at all. But because you can pay more, maybe when it comes down to comparing two students, that might make a difference. But the important thing is, or it may not, but you will be left with that amount. So you cannot put something there that you cannot afford.
Mhm.
Okay? So there's no right, or I can't say yes or no to your question. The thing is, the reality is you need to be truthful on it, because that is what you're going to be left with most probably. Now, if a university is need aware and a student can pay for everything, that might be a tiny advantage compared to other students, but that doesn't mean they're not going to look at everything else as well. So there's no like, oh, I'll do this and I'll get, it'll make my chances better. In the end, they're going to look at you holistically, and the finances is only one part of it. And you have to keep in mind that whatever you say that you can pay is what you're going to end up paying. So be careful with that. So Caltech is need aware, but something like a school like Harvard or Yale is need blind. So they're not even going to look at your finances to determine that. But in any case, they're all going to be very hard to get into. They're highly selective, 1% to 2% international admissions rate. So you don't want to include just those universities on your list if you're going to the United States. It's good to include others just in case. Okay, so need blind versus need aware. Be truthful on your financial aid document. There are two types of financial assistance: merit-based and need-based. Merit-based aid is basically financial assistance that you get based on some kind of merit. That could be whether you're a good student, they like you, you're a leader, they love you, they you've got great grades, so they want to give you a scholarship. Or it could be like a sports-related scholarship as well. They want you because they want to reward you for your abilities in music or sports or whatever. And they usually have a fixed amount. Sorry. And they usually have a fixed amount. So they're not necessarily looking at how much you can pay. They have a scholarship worth $20,000. They like you and they give it to you. And whether you can pay the rest or not is not something that they consider. Merit-based aid is they usually have a fixed amount, and they usually they say so how much it is on the website. So one university may have a scholarship that's only worth $5,000. Another university may have a full tuition scholarship, which is worth $50,000. But in any case, that kind of scholarship will be based on a merit on your application, your academics, and everything else. And they don't look at your finances. And most financial assistance for international students is merit-based. Then you'll see something called need-based aid as well. For that, again, obviously, you have to be a very good student. You have to be someone that they are interested in accepting to their universities. But to determine the amount that they give you, they will look at your finances and see and determine how much you need, and hopefully give you what you need. Or maybe less than you need. Who knows? They will determine how much that they can give you. Merit-based is a fixed amount. You don't need to submit financial documents. Need-based, they're looking at your financial capabilities. They're looking at your income, your parents' income, and they're determining how much you need so that they can come up with an amount. Most international financial assistance is merit-based. There's some that's need-based. For you, it really doesn't matter what it's called, as long as it makes it affordable for you. Okay. You don't necessarily need to choose like, oh, do I apply to the schools with merit-based aid or need-based aid? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it's called, as long as there's an amount that makes it affordable for you. One is not easier to get than the other, basically. For a school, like if you're looking at the Ivies, for example, most of them, as I said, are need blind. If you can get in, then they're going to look at your finances and they're going to say, okay, Mirai can afford $15,000. We're going to give her 70 to make her, make it affordable for her. Me, Gülsen, she can pay 60. So we're going to give her 20. So every university and every student will be assessed differently. The problem with the Ivies is getting in. Once you're in, it's not a financial problem at all. You can get what you need. Does it make sense, the different categories?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. On their website, they'll tell you what kind of aid that they have. For example, Vanderbilt offers need-based scholarships to a limited number of international undergraduate applicants. If you indicate on your application for admission that you are seeking need-based assistance, the admissions decision will be made on a need-aware basis. Okay, so they're telling you right there and then that they are need-aware. They're going to look at whether you're requesting financial aid or not. For this university, for example, this is Boston University, they have merit awards, the trustee scholarship, which is full tuition, which is actually huge, but it's a merit award. You have to apply, it's a fixed amount, and you have to apply by a certain date. Okay, they also have a presidential scholarship, which is worth 20. Apart from this, they may not have anything else. So for you, you have to look, for example, if you're interested in going to Boston University, you have to look to see. Yes? Okay, bye. Sorry. So if you want to go to this university, for example, you have to look at how much will be left, even if you get the full tuition scholarship, to see whether you can afford it. The award itself is huge. It's full tuition, probably over $60,000 per year, but it may be $30,000 or $25,000 for living expenses. Can you afford the rest? If you can, then you apply by December 1st for this particular scholarship. How you apply for this assistance will depend on the university. Sometimes you don't have to submit an application to be considered for scholarships at all. Sometimes, like this application for this university, they have separate applications for their scholarships that you have to submit, or for need-based universities with need-based aid, you have to fill out something called the CSS profile. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to come up with your university list to see where you can apply, which universities are affordable, which universities have the scholarships or financial aid that you need, and then we determine which forms you have to fill out, okay? So first thing is first, coming up with university lists, okay? I will skip this as well, and this as well. So these are just some examples. Merit-based aid, you may have to fill in a separate form, or you may not have to fill in anything. Need-based aid, you may have to fill in the CSS profile or another financial aid form. They have their own forms sometimes. And they will also ask you to prove your income, your dad's income, your mom's income. And sometimes there are other things that you need to do. Sorry, is there a question? No. Okay, so as I said, these are things just to keep in mind. You don't have to worry about the forms to fill out now. The main thing that has to be done at this point is determining which universities you're applying to and what the deadlines are and which forms to submit when. And that's how I'll help you. There are some really good websites that you can look at for financial assistance, and I will send those to you too as well. But I like this one. So you can, let's see, say if you want to study in Maine. If you click on Maine on the map here, you can see which universities in Maine have international student scholarships. This college, Unity College, has a international students tuition waiver, which is great. Do you like Unity College? You would have to then go into Unity College's website, look at the chemistry program, and sometimes you may be pleasantly surprised and find, wow, this university doesn't seem so bad at all. I haven't heard of it, but they have a good scholarship, so I'll add it to my list. And other ways to make it affordable. Okay, so you guys are doing your A levels. If you pass all of your A levels, most universities in the United States will give you credit for them as well. So sometimes a student can, when they pass their A levels, every university will have their own process of determining this, but if you pass your A levels, they may waive or make you exempt from some courses or classes. So instead of finishing in 4 years, maybe you'll be able to finish in 3.5. That also saves money somehow. Or if you decide to stay in the summer and take extra classes, sometimes that's a good way to reduce the number of years you study as well. Community colleges, I don't know if you're interested in them, but they're 2-year colleges. You may consider applying to those as well because they're much cheaper. And it's basically the same thing as the first 2 years of university in the United States. But what is your plan B? Is your plan B to go to Europe if the US doesn't work out, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Then the community colleges, I'm not sure you might be interested in those. Also, think about like the ways to reduce costs is to also consider studying in smaller towns in the middle states. They're more affordable. They're more, they're less used to having Cypriot students. You may remember at the beginning of the presentation, I said, excuse me, let me drink some water. That being unique is sometimes a good thing in the application process. If you are the first Cypriot student to apply to a university, sometimes that alone makes you stand out. Now we can say that we have a Cypriot student at our university. Universities like to list all, all of the countries that they have students from. And so, yeah, being Cypriot sometimes may make a difference, but you will surely not be the first student in a school in a big city. So spend time researching universities, volunteer over the summer. They like to see community service or caring about your community. Choose the schools where you'll be genuinely happy, and also start corresponding with your top choice schools. Every university has webinars, presentations online nowadays. If you keep coming up on their presentations, they'll get to know you. And sometimes the admissions officers are the ones who are making these presentations. And they might be like, oh, I remember seeing this student 3 times at our presentations. She came to all 3 of them. Obviously, she's interested in our school. So, let's take her instead of this other student who we'd never heard of. So right now, start participating in webinars and open days and things like that that are offered by your university, that the universities that you're interested in. There are online courses as well that you can take that are free. For example, let me show you. There are open online courses now where you can take courses from universities all over the world. So for example, say if you want to do something from Harvard, Harvard University offers free courses in all of these things, which some of them might be related to what you want to study. They're free and they're online. This is also a way to express interest. Okay, so these are things you can do over the summer as well. So yeah, definitely get to know the universities even now. Oops. And start corresponding with them, ask questions, get your name out there, join webinars, and so forth. And oops, this is outdated, but in September, of, or no, probably before August. July, August, we'll have a session on, I think I should do this in July, let's say July. We'll have a session on writing an effective college application essay, because it is important. The essay is important. Some universities around the world, like in Ireland, they don't have personal statements at all, or in other countries, they're not so important, but in the United States, it will be important. So Mirai, that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to share with you the resources here. I'm going to share with you some financial aid lists as well.
Okay.
Just a minute, let me show you. I'll send it by email. Let me share the list with you. Okay, so there are lists like these of universities that have financial aid for international students. It includes the total cost, the average award, and things like that. And these are all things that you can use to kind of narrow down your list. Obviously, Caltech, the average award that was granted to students was $65,000, which is a lot, but it's also $83,000 in total cost. But if you get in, you'll get enough financial aid. But you also have to think about numbers as well, and statistics and selectivity. So I would say, since you're already applying to the US and you're going to apply to Europe on your own, I would think about applying to some other universities as well, just to see how it goes. Also, yeah, look at the percentages that are given to you to give you an idea. You might end up going to a really good university that you weren't considering with a huge financial aid package, and amazing facilities. So when you're looking at universities, have an open mind. I know everybody looks at rankings and stuff like that, but also look at other details as well. Is there anything you want me to particularly go over again or mention?
I wanted to ask about the deferred application to
Yes.
regular. After you've been deferred, can you update your application with any extracurriculars? Anything
Possibly,
else you've done?
yes, possibly. If there's anything new, though, I mean, if there's anything new, then you can add it, definitely. You can usually add something to it, but it has to be substantial. Like, say if all of a sudden you've got this amazing SAT score, or you got an award for your leadership, you can add that, yes. You don't have to apply, like so early decision versus early action. Early decision is binding. So you would only apply to one university, that's early decision. And if you're in and they give you enough financial assistance, obviously, then you have to drop all of your applications worldwide and go there. That's the expectation. So it has to be a really, a university that you're genuinely interested in. Early action, on the other hand, is not binding. So you'll still get an early response, but you'll still have until May 1st to decide whether you're going to go there. Applying early is always good, in my opinion, because you're the first application that they see. And if you're impressive, then, why shouldn't they take you? However, if you're not ready and you're going to be able to provide a better application in January, you should wait. Like, if you don't want to rush things and make a meh application, because your application can be rejected as well at early action or early decision. So, if you're not ready, then wait and apply in January, get all of your results, and then, decide in May whether you're going to the US or not. And by then you'll also get your European applications if that's what you want to do. But if you are ready, apply early, because then they get to see you, first. I have seen students get rejected. I have seen students get waitlisted. All kinds of results come out from US applications. It's unfortunately not straightforward.
Yes.
But it's exciting. And there's a lot of financial assistance in the US.
About taking online courses
Yeah.
during the summer, do you write them on your application?
Yeah, you can write them as activities, definitely.
They
Or
count as
if,
extracurriculars?
yeah, you can write about it. Or when there's a question, so some highly selective universities might ask, why Caltech? Why Macalester? There you can say, you know, I really enjoyed my course that I took by a Macalester professor on X, Y, and Z. I really enjoyed his style. That also shows interest and things like that. So there are different ways you can use that.
Is there any like placement exams for classes after you?
No. Well, no, once you're in, they may ask you to do a math placement or something like that, but that's like just so that they put you in the right math level. But it's not
Is
like
that generally in person or online?
usually it depends. It depends. And it's closer to the start of the year. It's not something that's gonna determine whether you're in or not. It's something just to put you in the right class. It may not be required at all.
That was all of the questions I had.
Yeah. All right. Well, how much time do you need to come up with a list of universities, do you think? Oh, I'll just stop recording now, by the way, because we don't need to.